I've been hauling freight for 15 years. You learn to expect the unexpected on the road. Weird wildlife strangers at odd hours. The occasional hallucination when sleep deserts you. Still, there's one night 6 years ago that sticks with me, and I can't shake it. I was driving a load of construction supplies from Phoenix to Salt Lake City. The route cut through a long, lonely stretch of US 89 in northern Arizona. Gorgeous country but empty, no lights, no towns. Just rock formations and cactus that fade into black. Around 2 a.m. the sky, which had been clear an hour before, flipped. Rain came down like someone opened a faucet. Heavy sheets hard enough that the wipers barely kept up. My CB was quiet, just the usual static. I thought I was alone, then I saw him. At first I assumed a hitchhiker, a tall shape at the edge of my headlights. Something bright catching the beam closer. Now it was an orange raincoat, not the reflective, striped kind workers wear. Just solid, soaked orange. He stood outside the reach of the light. When he turned, his face made my stomach drop. It wasn't grotesque, it wasn't screaming or angry. It was wrong in a quieter way, blank, featureless. In a way that belonged more to a mannequin than a man. No expression, nothing to read. I drove on, I didn't slow. I didn't stop, every nerve told me to keep moving. 20 minutes later, I saw him again. Same orange coat, same blank look. Standing at the roadside where there was no shoulder, no hidden path, no car. There was no way he could have gotten ahead of me, unless he'd walked through scrub and rock. In a downpour and somehow outrun a truck doing 60. That impossibility crawled up my spine. I grabbed the CB and called out, "Anyone on 89 northbound?" Just passed a weird guy in an orange raincoat twice. Silence, then static, then a whisper came through the radio. Like someone breathing into the mic. "Don't stop." I dropped my mic, the rain got louder. My truck's electrical started acting up. GPS jumping around the map, headlights stuttering. I hadn't had those problems before. I'd kept this rig for years. A rest stop came up dirt. Pull off one bench, a trash can. Nothing more. I figured I'd pull in for 5 minutes. Check the wiring, clear my head. Bad idea. He was there, standing by the bench, perfectly still, facing the highway. My hands went cold. Every instinct screamed not to get out. I fumbled for the deer, ready to gun it. But then he moved. He didn't walk. He slid. One heartbeat, he was by the bench. The next, he was level with my cab. No sound of footsteps, no rustle of fabric. 1 second there, the next impossibly close. I screamed and stomped the gas. Gravel spat up as I peeled back onto the highway. I didn't look in the mirror. I didn't check behind me, I just ran. The rain kept smashing the windshield until it stopped. 10 miles down the road, the storm was gone like someone flipped a switch. The GPS calmed, the CB went dead. By morning, I rolled into Salt Lake exhausted. The load intact. I told a buddy later, he's older than me, and he just nodded like he'd heard it all before. The desert, he said, it keeps things, old things. Spirits maybe, whatever it was, don't open the door. I never saw the man in the orange raincoat again. But every time I drive that stretch, my eyes track the shoulder. I think about how close I came to stopping, and I still wonder what would have happened if I'd stepped out into the rain. I've been on the road for nearly 20 years. You get used to strange hours and stranger sights. Still, one night sticks with me like a bruise. I was running back roads through Oklahoma. Flat fields, 2-lane blacktops stretching into nothing. Around 2 a.m. I had the window cracked, a lukewarm gas station coffee in the cup holder, and a true crime podcast murmuring to keep me awake. For nearly an hour there wasn't another car, just the engine's low hum and the yellow cone of my headlights. Cutting through the dark, that's when I saw him. He was in the shallow ditch beside the road, standing dead, still facing away from me. At first it could have been any late-night drifter, jacket, jeans, shoulders hunched against whatever wind there was. But his clothes were too clean, like he'd stepped out of a store and into me, which made no sense at all. As I eased by to get a better look, my headlights swept over him and he dropped, just collapsed flat into the ditch, like somebody had yanked his legs out from under him. It was sudden wrong. I checked my mirrors. He didn't get up. I pulled over half a mile down. My gut told me to keep going, but if that was someone who needed help, I couldn't leave them. I grabbed a flashlight and walked back along the shoulder. At the ditch, there were fresh, muddy footprints and scuff marks where his knees hit. The earth, but no person, no light, no sound. I called out nothing. I stood there, shining the beam into the field, and felt that animal prickling. like someone invisible was watching me. The wind picked up and rattled the grass. Otherwise, the world held its breath. Then I nearly jumped clean out of my skin. When I turned back toward the road, there was a figure, standing in the middle of the pavement. Behind me, same jacket, same jeans back to me. Perfectly still, I hadn't heard a footstep. I froze, every hair on my arms lifting. I started backing slowly toward the truck, keeping the flashlight aimed at him. That's when I noticed his shadow was wrong. The moon was behind me, and the flashlight hit him head on. But his shadow stretched sideways, not away from the light, and it flickered as if someone wobbled a bulb. It twitched like a bad signal on an old TV, and then he moved not a turn, not a step a glide, smooth and mechanical, as if he followed a track across the asphalt. No arm swing, no shift of weight. He just slid toward the ditch in that stiff, upright posture. I didn't wait a second. I ran full tilt to the cab, threw myself inside, locked the doors and slammed the pedal. I watched in the rear view as he stood again in the ditch facing away. I drove for an hour before I could breathe. Without feeling watched, pulled into the first truck stop I saw, and sat there shaking for a long time. I didn't tell anyone that night. Months later, in a diner in Missouri, I told a fellow driver the story. A guy I'd seen around the lanes a few times. I expected a laugh, instead he went quiet. Then asked Route 177. When I nodded, he let out a slow breath and said he'd seen the same thing 5 years earlier. It had followed him for miles, popping up on overpasses and rest stop lots, once in his side mirror while he sat parked, always still, always facing away, always gone when you looked right at it. That curled my stomach. After that, I dug online. I found at least 3 anonymous posts on trucker forums. Same scenario, man in a light jacket collapses in the ditch, reappears behind the cab, his shadow twitching, the air going dead and cold around him. One guy even wrecked trying to avoid hitting him when he appeared in the road. Different years, different rigs, same eerie pattern. I've avoided Route 177 ever since. It cost me a couple extra hours. But I'd rather lose time than risk whatever. That was, I don't know if it was a ghost, some kind of shared hallucination from sleep deprivation, or something else that crawls under your skin and makes you follow. I only know the way it wanted me to move after it. Why it fell, why it reappeared behind me. If I had stood there another minute, I have no doubt I would have followed it down that black road.